The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. This is program number 930, coming to you on Monday, the 18th of March, 2019. On this program, I will speak to you on the topic Credit Unionism. But before getting into the topic, a short preliminary. As usual, my condolences go out to all families which have suffered recent bereavements. And that is it for preliminaries for this evening's program. I go straight into the topic, credit unions. This topic has been inspired by and is dedicated to the memory of the late Mrs. Viola John, who was laid to rest on Saturday afternoon last week, and in whose honor I am speaking on her beloved subject, for she can be regarded as one of the pioneers of the credit union movement. And when she died at the age of 96 years old, full of her faculties, it must be said, she still spoke about the virtues of credit unionism. So this program is devoted to the memory of Viola John. Let me say that her funeral service at the Kingston Methodist Church on Saturday afternoon was beautifully done. My compliments to those who delivered tributes, but my special compliments to the person who preached the sermon at that funeral. And when I say the sermon is vintage Monty, then you know I'm referring to Brother Monty Mall, one of my favorite preachers. But he excelled on Saturday afternoon, went above and beyond the heights that we all know that he is capable of. Monty, we are so proud of you. It's such a pleasure to sit back and hear preaching of that kind. From the tributes, those who attended and didn't know got a full account of Viola John's contribution to the credit union, which she came to the credit union after her days as a public officer proper. But instead of using the word she came to, I should say she helped to create, because it was the visionaries of her time who introduced and developed credit unionism. Before their time, there were the friendly societies, which still exist today, among which the leading one is Bonpan. But the credit union goes above and beyond, because whereas the friendly societies occupy themselves mainly with providing death benefits. The credit unions nowadays carry out practically all of the activities that you will find in commercial banks. And when I heard from one of the eulogists that there are 75,000 Vincentians who are members of credit unions operating in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, out of a population of some 110,000 people. I was amazed at that statistic. My introduction to credit unionism occurred around the middle of 1968 when I was invited to join GECO, did so, and was shortly thereafter elected as chairman of the credit committee, where I served for approximately 2 years before resigning to go abroad to take up my legal studies at Cave Hill. And one of the executive members of GECO at the time was Mrs. Viola John. I recall with fondness working with people like the late Calvin Nichols, the late Leon Huggins on the credit committee. And then when I went to law school and did some reading, I appreciated the legal foundations on which the principles of credit unionism have been built. I would say to any working person who does any banking whatsoever, that if you are not yet a member of a credit union, please consider becoming a member of a credit union. To my mind, the benefits of doing financial business with a credit union in St. Vincent and the Grenadines nowadays are parallel to the benefits of being a member of a clientele of any commercial bank. But there are more advantages to being a member of a credit union than there are to be a member of the clientele of a commercial bank. First one is that when you do commercial banking, you have no role to play in the selection of those who run the bank, whether local or overseas. But as a credit unionist, you take part in the voting procedures every annual general meeting to elect the officers of the credit union. Secondly, when you go to a credit union to do business, nobody has to tell you that they have to refer your matter to head office in some other country, and they have to wait for an answer from head office. There is no credit union in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with a head office outside St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The credit unions run their own affairs. Now, being financial institutions under the law, credit unions come within the regulatory ambit of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. But the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in no way controls the credit unions. And nowadays, there is hardly anything you can do in a commercial bank that you cannot do in a credit union. You can save, withdraw your savings whenever you feel like. Some offer a range of services similar to those you will get from a commercial bank. But above all, to me, the biggest advantage of credit unionism is that the persons who belong to it all own shares in the credit union. What do we know about owning shares in the commercial banks except perhaps our national bank? The other commercial banks, with the exception of the cooperative bank, are entities which are practically branches of commercial banks outside St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But when you belong to a credit union, you own part of the credit union. And as many shares as you could afford to buy, you can buy them in the credit union. There's no limit as to the number of shares a person can buy in a credit union. So that it's an institution, or I should say, since I'm using the plural, they are institutions which belong to us, the members, which are controlled by boards of directors elected to office by us, the members. Those boards understand our economic situation, and they can deal with applications for loan in a way that no set of people operating in head office for any commercial bank whose head office is outside St. Vincent and Grenadines can ever understand or appreciate. And the credit unions can deal with matters usually in a faster way than a commercial bank. In an emergency, a credit union might be able to process a loan for you in 2 days or less. In an emergency, if all conditions are satisfied. Which commercial bank you can go to that has a head office outside that you could get any significant loan in a matter of 2 days? And there's usually, each bank has a limit. Loans above that limit must be referred to head office. And the local branch has to wait until it gets a response from head office. Head office are people who don't know you and you don't know them. They don't know our conditions, they don't know our situation. But the local boards of directors of credit unions, the local credit committees, the local managers of credit unions understand our situation here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and can cater to our financial needs. They understand us. And when it comes to the case where members of credit union fall in hard times, their boards of directors are usually much more understanding, much more lenient, much more willing to help the person back on their feet than the heartless attitude of some of the commercial banks whose head offices are not in this country. When you look in the newspapers, how many advertisements do you see of credit unions selling persons' property out because of foreclosure? Not that there is not delinquency, but the credit unions usually walk along and coax people along. And if a credit union here, in my experience, has to sell out somebody because they can't pay the mortgage loan, it's because that there is no alternative at all. But the credit union will try to work with you, a way in which no commercial bank with ties outside St. Vincent would be willing to work with you. And every now and then the unexpected happens, and people cannot service their mortgages the way that they were supposed to according to the documents they sign up. So you go to your credit union, you are, let us say, you're just out of school and you've landed your first job. My advice to you is, if you're not yet a member of a credit union, find out which credit unions would best suit your needs and go there and apply for membership and join that credit union as soon as you start to work. Do that before you join. And even if you have an account at a commercial bank as a student or an unemployed person, from the time you get in employment and have a regular salary, no matter how small, go and join a credit union, please, for your own welfare and that of your children. And then you will see the benefits of membership. You buy minimum number of shares to join, and you have a plan where every month you put aside a little bit and so on in the form of more shares until you have enough shares to apply for your first loan when the time comes. And you will see how you are treated like a human being, just not like a statistic or a stranger. In the credit unions, you find an atmosphere of welcoming, of brotherly love, the way you don't find it in every commercial bank. Because you are dealing with people who belong to an institution to which you belong. If you have an account at a foreign-based commercial bank, by the foreign-based I mean those which are branch offices of foreign commercial banks, okay. But the commercial banks operate strictly on their own guidelines and principles. I'm not saying they shouldn't have guidelines, but local commercial banks don't have the flexibility. And when I say local commercial banks, I don't mean the indigenous local banks. I mean the banks which have foreign head offices. I would go as far as to say, because of the attitude of some of the banks, imposing charges for this, that, and everything, even the regulatory authorities in the Eastern Caribbean Bank have to practically cry shame at some of the commercial banks for the things they're charging for. If you don't have a minimum balance in that account, it costs you so much and so much a month they're taking out. And they're taking out for every little thing. It gets appalling. And something has to be done about the attitude of these foreign-based commercial banks. And I pray that the indigenous banks don't follow these attitudes and patterns and practices of the foreign-based commercial banks. So that it makes financial sense for any working person to invest with a credit union. And things have changed. The various benefits have gone up enormously. I was surprised to hear how high the death benefits are now gone in one credit union. Well, I refer to Gecko because that is the one that I know best. So that there shouldn't be much difficulty in convincing you that you should join a credit union if you don't presently belong to one. Excuse me. And all you have to do is do a little research, ask questions, get their information booklets, compare one credit union with another, and decide which one you're going to belong to. Of course, if, for example, you're a teacher, then you have the teachers' credit union. If you're a policeman, you have the policeman credit union. So you are not limited to one or two credit unions, you have a range. The credit unions in St. Vincent and Grenadines have, for years, operated a credit union league. This is a body to which all credit unions belong at the top. They discuss matters, try to implement common policies in the interest of their membership. And of course, when I say their membership, I'm talking about Vincentians, so that they operate in our interest. And now that we're near the 40th anniversary of our independence, we should think seriously about indigenous institutions. Where they are weak, we should strengthen them. And over the years, legislation has been passed by various governments which has accomplished much of that. So to round off, credit unionism is a wonderful concept, and it has operated beautifully here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, thanks to the efforts of some pioneers such as Mrs. Viola John and others who have mainly passed on. A few of the pioneers in credit unionism are still around. But those are native institutions. You will find credit unions in every West Indian state. You find them all parts of the world. And they all help in the management of financial resources. And above all, when you're a member of the credit union and you get into a financial jam, particularly a sudden one, you can call upon your credit union, explain the situation to them, whichever credit union it is. And any solution which is humanly possible, they would implement that for your benefit because they're looking out for your welfare. Foreign boards of directors of other non-native commercial banks don't even have you to study. They're looking at their bottom line, the profits. And when they're ready, as in one case, they sell out to another entity. They don't have to account to you or ask you permission to sell their operations to another entity. Credit unions don't operate. In fact, credit union can't sell itself out. Might dissolve, yes. But it's there for our benefit. And on behalf of Mrs. Viola John and her memory, I would urge all young people who are not yet members of a credit union to help yourself to better manage your financial affairs by joining a suitable credit union. You wouldn't regret it. You wouldn't regret it. Once again, my deepest condolences to Lafleur, Kizzy, and all the members of the family of Mrs. Viola John. All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, that brings me to the end of tonight's program of The Law and You. I'd just like to congratulate St. Mary's Spiritual Baptist Cathedral at Overland on the 60th anniversary of the founding of that church, for which there is a series of activities which have begun already, and by the time you're hearing this program, a church service at St. Mary's will be held tonight, and they will have the honor of delivering the Blessed Cosmo Matthias Pompey lecture, memorial lecture, at St. Mary's Cathedral Overland on Friday this week, commencing at 6 o'clock. You're all invited to attend. All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, do have a pleasant week, and may the good Lord continue to bless us all.
The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.